moving from marketing products to actually marketing services. So I feel like services marketing, it's something we haven't talked much about today, but is a really important form of marketing in many different companies. So I'm really interested to hear this session today. Our speaker is the lead product marketing manager of services at UKG. Rachel has 12 years of marketing experience at small startups, SMBs, and enterprise tech companies. Her career is spanned across all marketing disciplines, from events to demand gen to product marketing, services marketing. And outside of work, she's a mentor and ambassador for Out in Tech, a nonprofit organization that unifies the LGBTQ plus tech community. Help me welcome to the stage, Rachel Raposa.
Thank you. Thanks. Awesome. Can you hear me? Awesome. Great. And I have old school notes because sometimes I need them. But thank you all. Thanks for joining. Great introduction. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Rachel Raposa. I'm from UKG, also known as Ultimate Kronos Group. We sell HR, payroll, timekeeping solutions. If you've ever worked in an hourly role, you've probably clocked in on a Kronos time clock, so that's who we are. We sell to all markets, SMB, mid-market, enterprise. So we are a large organization. I think we're currently at 15,000 employees. So just to give you a little bit of background about who we are, B2B company. So a lot of my information here, a lot of my experience in and of itself is at B2B. So we can jump to this next slide. There we go. All right, so here's what I'm going to cover today. First thing, what is services marketing? So I'll define that for you, tell you exactly what I'm talking about. One, how is it similar to and different from product marketing? And then lastly, what is the business case for services marketing? So I did want to define what services marketing is and how it's similar and different before I get into the business case. It is really important, so I'm going to leave that for the end. And before I jump right in, a little bit about me. So first of all, as Jason mentioned, 7 years in product marketing, over 12 years in marketing. I started in nonprofit, moved into biotech, now into tech, and by and large, last 7 years have been product marketing focused roles. Again, orgs of all sizes has really gotten me a good feel for what works at a large company and what works at a small company. They're very different, but by and large, the role of product marketing is important regardless of company size. Then last one, Jill of all trades. So again, I have worked in events, I've worked in demand and content, digital, all those things. It's really helped inform a lot of what I do in product marketing. So I do encourage you to either get a little bit more experience in different areas. It definitely helps with those conversations with those stakeholders in those different areas. So been a huge help to me. I am also, it's not on the slide, but I am also from Boston. Do I have any other Boston people here? Yes, okay. Okay, that's great. We do travel. That's good to know. I drove in yesterday, and I gotta say, New York, your road system is far superior than Boston. It was an absolute delight being able to navigate the streets of New York relative to Boston. So that is the one compliment you'll get from a Boston person today. I'm also co-chair of our Pride ERG at UKG. So we have a number of ERGs. Pride is our LGBTQ plus ERG. So I cannot tell you how beneficial that participating in an ERG has been to my career. I've got to meet people from different areas of the business, especially when I jumped into the services marketing role a little over a year ago. I was working on a whole new part of the business. It was pretty much a new position at UKG. But luckily, a ton of Pride members in the services organization, and I can't tell you how great it is to look across the table and say, like, see a familiar face and, just jump right into things and not necessarily have the awkward, like, oh, what are you doing? What am I doing? Type of thing. So definitely encourage everyone to join an ERG, participate in it. Hugely beneficial.
What's an ERG?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Employee Resource Group. Yeah. Diversity networks, business resource groups are also the other names for them. So basically special interest groups at an organization. All right, so enough about me. What is services marketing? So first, what's my scope? What am I actually covering in services marketing? So I'm gonna boil it down to two main things. The first one is articulating, messaging, positioning, driving content, sales enablement around the value of our customer experience. So this is everything that a customer, quote unquote, gets when they purchase our software. So this is everything from implementation to support to success to our learning and all of our training opportunities and our customer community. So this is a huge piece of my role. And basically we want to package it up and sell it as an experience. We're a premium solution in the market. In order to charge that premium price, we have to provide a premium experience, and we've got to sell it to those customers. So again, huge piece of my role. Each of those different functions within the customer experience definitely could deserve a whole head count if we had the budget. But that's basically, I would say, 60% of my role. The other 40% is marketing and supporting our value-added services. So aside from the stuff that's included with your software purchase, this is the stuff that customers pay for in addition to what they get. So this is everything from consulting services to maybe technical or configuration services, things like that. So these, to be quite honest, are not huge revenue drivers. So, however, they drive a lot of other things, like product expansion opportunities, retention rates, and CSAT scores. So again, not huge revenue generating things, but those three things are definitely critical. Three other things are definitely critical to a SaaS organization. So definitely you want to take a look at your value-added services, package them up, see how you can sell them, make sure that you're looking at them from the perspective of your broader customer experience. So what I mentioned before on the last slide, you're selling your whole customer experience. Your value-added services are definitely a part of that message. So again, that's what I cover in my scope. In terms of my actual responsibilities, I've mentioned a few already, but fairly similar, fairly straightforward role, messaging and positioning. I have to message and position our customer experience. I have to message and position our value-added services. Pretty easy. Launches, I support all of our services launches. If we're rolling out something new with support, if we're rolling out something new with a value-added service, I'm in charge of all those launches. Sales enablement, so I have to help sales understand how to message and position our customer experience, and then for value-added services, who might be a good fit for different services, so I do a lot of that. And then marketing team support, so again, working cross-functionally with demand, events, content, our web team, just to help push my agenda and also help them work with me to get some of my other priorities together. So again, just to recap, responsibilities, pretty straightforward, it's fairly straightforward product marketing role, just focused on services. Important to note, we are a big organization at UKG, so I did want to highlight what I don't do. So first one is customer engagement programs. So these are the things like delighter campaigns, increasing user adoption of different features, stuff like that. I don't cover that. We have a huge customer marketing team at UKG that handles all of that. So they do a great job with that. I work very closely with them, but not part of my scope. And I'm also a stakeholder or subject matter expert to our competitive intelligence team, to our demand team, and to our analyst relations team. So again, I do a lot of my own competitive research just in terms of how competitors are messaging and positioning their products or experience. But we have our CI team is dedicated to running win-loss analytics, like all these different things, reading earnings reports. Our demand team, they basically look to me to see what's a priority to promote in demand gen campaigns. And then our analyst relations team, sometimes I'll hop on as a SME to talk about our customer experience, or they'll look to me to fill out those glorious RFP responses from analysts. All right, so jumping into number 2. How is marketing services similar to marketing products? Again, what is similar? My responsibility. It's not going to go through all of these again, but pretty straightforward. One thing I didn't mention here is I do a ton of content, full funnel content, so everything from thought leadership. I'm usually talking about HR and payroll. This is one of the times I actually get to talk about something that I actually do. So do thought leadership, I do mid-funnel, and I do bottom-of-funnel content. And then my many meetings. And I'll explain this in a little bit more later, but I'm in a ton of meetings. This does not change whether you're in product marketing or services marketing. I have a ton of stakeholders, lots of meetings, and I'll explain. I don't want to, scare people away from services marketing, but you'll probably have more meetings in this role. All right, so what is different? So first of all, people versus products. This is really straightforward. I'm essentially marketing people. So we have an enormous services organization that takes up about half of our employee headcount at UKG. And I'm basically charged with messaging and positioning them, which is amazing, and I love that. You just have to be cognizant that when you're messaging and positioning another person that may work right down the row from you, that you're talking about their experience and you're talking about their skill set in a way that aligns with how they think about themselves, as well as how it aligns to the market needs. So just be aware of that. It's a little bit of a nuance. No screenshots, so follow up on that. Really weird not to have screenshots for all these things or videos. So I've gotten really good at finding those great stock photos, the B-roll videos, things like that. I encourage you to even take pictures of your own services team. They actually really love to be involved in the marketing of themselves. So just one of those weird things that kind of threw me off guard. Sales comp plan. So getting into more of the business stuff here, this is a huge difference. And it really does depend on companies. Some companies, your sales team may not get comped on services. So they may only get compensated or get quota credit for recurring revenue. And a lot of times services is a one-time fixed fee type of thing. So they may not get compensated for that. So this is important when you think about the dynamics of a demand gen campaign. So, hey, demand gen team, I want to run this campaign on this value-added service. They say, great, except they don't want to run it because they know down the line, once they get leads in, they're not going to have any salespeople there to follow up on them, because how many salespeople want to follow up on something that they don't get compensated for, right? So one of the nuances, I have been trying to figure this out at UKG. If this is an issue or a barrier at your organization, feel free to come chat with me. I have a couple of different ways that you can handle it at your organization, but did want to highlight that this is definitely a difference between products and services. And enabling more than sales. So this one caught me completely off guard when I stepped into this new role. I had sales enablement down, like, yes, I can cover it, blah, blah, blah. I did not know that I also needed to enable our services people themselves on our messaging and positioning. So our services people, they're all customer facing, our implementation teams, our support teams, our success teams, they all want to know how we're talking about our customer experience, how we're messaging it to buyers, so that way they can remain consistent when they take over the customer account once they're a full go live customer. So this increases my scope significantly. So there are, again, tons of different services people at UKG. This is a huge scope increase. So just be aware of that and account for that if you're budgeting for headcount. It's super important too, and they're very interested. So definitely keep that a part of your plan if you're planning on rolling out a services marketing role. Go-to-market maturity. So this is a really fun one, and I want to spend some time on this one. Services teams act a lot different than product teams. They are more reactive to customer demands. They talk to customers every day, and so they can pivot on a dime. They don't have to develop anything. It's just their expertise. So they can literally, offer one service one day, pivot, create a new SKU, and offer another service the next day. For us at UKG, that means hundreds of SKUs for a market size that literally may be one customer. So it gets a little out of control. What I found that there hasn't been much rigor in the go-to-market process. So no one there to say, hey, maybe we package this up differently. Hey, maybe we price this differently. Or hey, maybe we just don't really market this, or what the priority is. So go-to-market maturity is a lot lower than a product organization, and they need to they need a little bit more help from product marketing to understand what that go-to-market muscle is for them. So again, this is a really big one. And this, back to my point about having many meetings, services organizations don't typically have portfolio managers. If you do at your organization, that's awesome and it will cut down on your number of meetings, but I don't have a portfolio manager to work with who oversees a couple of different services. I have to go directly to services practice owners to work with them. So essentially, portfolio managers are the equivalent of a product manager or a product director. Services business practice owners, they're the equivalent of engineers. So I have to work with a lot more people who their lives and their priorities are very much their service and their service only. So again, go-to-market maturity for services a little bit lower, but definitely a huge opportunity. And if it's something that you're really passionate about, I'm super passionate about go-to-market. It's a really good opportunity to get into services marketing and help them fix that process. And then another piece of that, unlike products, services teams, they need demand to grow. So products, they grow in anticipation of demand and anticipation of scale. Services teams, they say, hey, we need a backlog in order for us to request more headcount in order for us to grow our services practice. So it does put a reliance on marketing as well as sales when they can to promote their services and to grow their services. And KPIs, so this leads nicely into KPIs. They're typical business KPIs of a product organization, usually ARR, revenue pipeline, things like that. Those are definitely applicable to services, but since services, depending on your go-to-market model, if you roll in a lot of services into your product, you might not be able to track that revenue. Or if a services team, maybe you're lucky a services team has a P&L, so they do bring out services and you're able to track that revenue, that's great. However, a more effective KPI that a lot of the services owners track is the ARR of the customers using that service. So they want to know the total impact to the business around the customers in that service. So same thing with retention in CSAT. If a customer of one service has an incredible retention rate, has an incredible CSAT rate, it's worth the time and investment to build out that service, to grow that service, because down the line that's going to help your business grow. And lastly, what's different, and this is why I felt so compelled to do this talk, was that there's so little information on the web about services marketing. I'm really good at Googling things. I have figured out a lot of my career via Google, as I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room that has, but not a lot out there. So I really had to rely on a lot of my coworkers and services to help me understand the business of services. I read a few different books. Nick Mehta from Gainsight, he writes a great book about the customer experience strategy as a whole. Great way to get base level knowledge around the customer experience. I know a few folks here from Salesforce, they're pretty much pioneers in customer experience, so you all should go chat with them. But again, little information on the web, just something to prepare for. Make sure you have good relationships across your organization if you do roll out a services marketing function. All right. So that was services marketing, what it is, the differences and the similarities between product marketing. So let's get into the business case for services marketing. The first one here is differentiate. So this is pretty clear. In my research when I was onboarding into my new role, I took a look around at our competitors, see what their messaging and positioning was on their customer experience, and there was pretty much nothing. Except for a few spots here and there, not a lot for my competitors. I did look around at other industries, still not a lot. So just purely having a more comprehensive messaging and positioning and content on your customer experience or on your services, that purely helps you differentiate because it's there. Good example of this, does your website menu look like this? I took a screen grab, I think of six websites. Top level web navigation from their sites. I removed the logos in case anyone is here. But you'll notice that services or customer experience is not on the top level of any of these menus. And you'll also hop onto UKG and find that is also not on the top level hours, and that will be changing. But very few organizations have customer experience on their top level website, top level web menu. So again, if you're going to invest in this, make sure you do it right. Make sure you have it up on your web menu. It will help you stand out. Premium pricing. So again, back to my point, UKG is a premium brand. We want to charge premium prices. We have to have a great experience. And so that's kind of the way of the world. In B2C, that's kind of been the standard for quite some time, where consumers are willing to pay a little bit more money for a better experience. B2B, that's certainly coming along nowadays. And I have a good data point on this afterwards. But what this really means is that if you're going to charge a premium price, you actually have to have a premium experience to go along with it. So if your organization doesn't have a premium experience, totally cool. You can also message and position that as a self-service experience or something else. So just some things to think about there. And sorry, the PwC logo is messed up, but this is a stat from PwC, is that you can charge up to a 16% price premium when you offer a premium customer experience. So again, I think everyone would love to see 16% increases on their prices. All right, last one here is market shifts. So again, technology buyers are becoming more mature, tech markets are becoming more mature. They've probably bought the cheap thing before and they've gotten burned, or maybe they've bought the best of breed thing and they've gotten burned that way because they didn't get enough value out of that robust system. So increasingly buyers are more experiential buyers. We're seeing that in a lot of our data. And so that's important. So they want to understand how exactly you're going to support them once you purchase, once they go live, how are you going to support them after that? So again, buyer shifts are hugely important and why your organization should have a customer experience and services message. And again, a stat from Forbes, 74% of buyers are at least somewhat likely to buy on experience alone. So again, nearly 3/4 of the market are potentially experiential buyers. So, all right, I think I'm doing pretty good on time, yeah. So just to wrap up, 3 things to remember. 1, I defined what services marketing is, what my scope is, my responsibilities. 2, I talked about how it was similar and different from product marketing. And then lastly, made the business case for services marketing. So big key takeaways here is that what I actually do, my responsibilities are very similar to product marketing. The how services is run, the business of services is quite a bit different than products. And then business case for services marketing, huge value add to your organization. You can charge a premium, stuff you can differentiate, stuff like that. Also important to know that if none of your competitors in your market are doing this yet, now's a great opportunity to own your story, or else maybe a competitor jumps in, they own their story, and they already start positioning themselves in that field. So those are my 3 key takeaways. And before I take questions, again, please connect with me. My LinkedIn's up there, my email, Twitter. I'm never on Twitter, but if you want some followers, I'll happily follow you back. But feel free to reach out. I'll be around the rest of today as well if I don't get to your question.
Awesome. That's great. Test. Oh, awesome. I think in every company I've been at, I don't think we've marketed services well enough after seeing that. Yeah. So thanks for that. That was really good. Okay, got a couple questions for you. So question number 1 is, do you align services marketing effort with product marketing effort? An example, packaging, for example.
Yes, excellent question. And yes, we do that. I work really closely with my product peers, and basically what we found is, to work around our sales comp structure is that we can start packaging a lot of our services with a product purchase. So if someone buys an employee survey tool, that organization may not know the best practices of how to roll that out. Oh, we have a service for that. So we just roll it right into the cost of that product. And the messaging around that is definitely the value prop of, hey, we got this great solution that's going to help you streamline your employee surveys, but B, we're going to make sure that you're doing it right and getting the most value out of that product.
Awesome. product marketers often have a product manager counterpart to work with. Who is that equivalent counterpart for services?
Yeah, so I covered this real quick, but it's typically a portfolio manager role, and they're very, very rare. So even like for a 15,000 employee organization, we are just rolling out the portfolio manager roles. It probably won't be built out for another year or 2 years. So that's typically the equivalent of a product manager role. What I've had to do in the meantime, I've had to make relationships with VPs of our different services organizations. I've worked directly with business owners. So again, you don't have a direct correlation, which makes things very difficult when it comes to managing your calendar and managing meetings and just having a ton of different stakeholders that you have to work with.
Can you talk more about sales comp plans for services?
Yeah, so
versus product.
Versus product, yeah. So for us at UKG, I know this isn't the same way at all organizations, but our sales organization only gets compensated for reoccurring revenue. So we price our products on a PEPM, a per employee per month charge, and so that is what they get compensated on, and we want to encourage them to sell more recurring revenue products. So they made that change probably 5 or 6 years ago. We were an on-prem company like back beyond the day, so services like was our moneymaker. But now services is a loss leader, and so they don't really want sales selling it, or they don't really want to compensate sales for selling it because already we're losing money on it. But they do want sales selling ARR, or things that generate recurring revenue for us. I don't know if that answers the question, or if you want more specifics on sales comp plans. But there are ways around it. Again, bundling services in with product ARR is one way, or turning services into a more recurring subscription type thing has also been successful for us, so ways around it.
Cool. Is there an equivalent product roadmap for services?
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. It's not huge, so I try to incorporate our services roadmap stuff with the product stuff. And I find that a lot of the services stuff could be internal, so I keep an internal roadmap available for our sales organization who wants to understand, hey, when is this experience going to be unified? When's that? Yada, yada. So again, usually maybe 1 or 2 slides actually gets incorporated into the product roadmap because we try to keep those a little bit shorter, but yeah. Get that.
An interesting one there, they talk about how they feel they do a really good job at telling the services story during the onboarding phase, but how can they do a better job at doing that during the prospect phase?
Yeah, so this is something, our services story is what we lean into at UKG. So we don't talk about, when we roll up into a prospect phase, we don't talk about products probably until the 3rd or 4th meeting, a lot of our sales reps. So they really highlight they lead with our customer experience. Hey, we have a wonderful customer experience. This means for, hey, Betty payroll, you're not gonna be struggling to close out payroll, that has a very hard deadline on a Monday. You're not gonna be worrying about that, staying up late worrying about that, because we're gonna be here for you. So we really lean into those pain points, and a lot of times, like especially in our industry, we have some huge players, I'm not gonna name names, who are notorious for not having good service. And so a lot of our customers are coming off of those solutions and they've had a terrible experience. So we lead with that. That is one of our primary differentiators as an organization. Tips beyond that, it's definitely a culture shift for sales. If your sales organization is used to selling more features and functionality, getting them to take a step back and telling the experience story is a bit of a leg lift for undergoing that transformation with about half of our sales organization right now. They're learning and they really like it, but they still lean back on features and functionality.
One more question. Mm-hmm. How is services marketing different than solutions marketing? In particular, the person said that often there's sales reps selling specific solutions to solve a particular problem, for example.
Yeah, good question. So we just reorged our product marketing organization about a year ago, and I actually report into our solutions marketing team within our broader product marketing organization. So again, we covered our solutions marketing team charter is basically we sell multiple products at UKG, so we cover all of our products, all of our messaging and positioning are usually at the brand level, at the UKG brand level. Services is one of those things. Our customer experience is the same across products. So that's one of the things that that falls under solutions marketing. But yeah, it's in a sense, I think solutions marketing kind of sits on top of product marketing, and that's how we've organized our product marketing organization. But we all roll into one product marketing VP.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Rachel.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Everyone give it up for Rachel. Oh, I'll take that, actually. Thanks. All right. So I can introduce you